Sekiro is a game where either you just get good or cheese every chance you get. In this video, I'm going to go every achievement in the game and determine how hard is it to obtain all of them. It will be rated by a scale of 1 to 5, as 1 being the easiest and 5 being the hardest. For Sekiro, it will be divided into 4 categories: basic achievements, boss achievements, collectibles, and the endings. Now, before I continue on with the video, I just want to say I appreciate all the comments on my Elden Ring video. It was fun to make and I hope I improve more on my content. If you haven't seen it, there is a link in the description below. Thank you all again. Let's talk about Sekiro. The basic achievements are achievements you will get as you progress throughout the game. These achievements are as follows: Revered Blade, which is receiving Sekiro's sword from Kuro; Shinobi Prosthetic, which is acquiring the Shinobi Prosthetic, which oddly enough, I didn't use all that much other than the firecrackers and the golden vortex for grinding for materials. Memorial Mob was when you encounter any of the merchants in the world. Resurrection, in short, is just die once, which everyone will unless of course you just build different. The next few achievements you would have to make good progress in the game to obtain them. These achievements are acquiring all the ninjutsu techniques, which are obtained by defeating 3 bosses: Gentro in Ashina Castle, the Foley Monkeys, and then a boss you could actually miss, the Headless Ape. Master of the Arts is when you get the last skill in one of the skill trees. Lazuline upgrade is using a Lapis Lazuli to upgrade any tool to its limit. If you're keeping up with your tool upgrades, you should get this achievement at least in your first playthrough. These achievements are straightforward, but it's a challenge in itself to go far enough to get some of them, as you have to go through bosses that can be really difficult, especially for your first playthrough, where you have to understand how the game works. The last achievement here is Ashina Traveler. This is when you travel to every place in the game. Originally I thought this meant every idol, but once I searched it up, it was only every big place in the game, which on a normal ending playthrough, you normally get to this achievement. There aren't as many bosses in this game as there are in Elden Ring, but they certainly are challenging and require some level of patience while fighting, because if you all in any of these bosses, you're bound to lose, unless of course you use tools and items to help hit stun them. But even then, you can run out of spirit emblems or items. The bosses do become easier the more playthroughs you go through and the more you master the game, but this video is in the perspective of the first time doing it. These bosses also range from different types of weapons such as sword or spear or just a literal monkey. Kyobu is the first main boss you come across. He has a few ranged attacks, but he mainly rides up to you and swings his spear. His horse can occasionally attack you if you stand behind him. He isn't an extremely hard boss, but he did take me a good couple attempts to beat, as at this point in the game, you still are understanding the mechanics in the game, and having a tiny health bar compared to this boss really made me feel a little nervous. Lady Butterfly is one of the easier bosses in the game. She has pretty basic attacks, and if you pressure her enough, you can prevent her from jumping up to her, well, I'll call them webs. It shows that she has one death blow, but it's a lie. She has a second phase where she summons spirits that can attack you, and then later dissolve into butterflies that fly at you. This can be prevented by using a snapseed, which is hinted by an NPC right before you fight this boss. I didn't get to this boss fight until near the end of the first playthrough, because I did the Shura ending, and in this game, I had a lot of trouble understanding where to go and what to do. I would say she's a moderate difficulty boss, or even easy if you fight her after you gain some attack power. Gentro is the boss that nearly made me give up on the game for a bit, because this is the boss where at this point in the game, you have to understand how to parry and do other counters you can do to break their posture. He has 2 phases but a total of 3 death blows, as after you get his first 2, a cutscene plays and now he can start throwing lightning at you. Ironically, his second phase was a lot easier than his first, since once you learn to reflect the lightning, it does a lot of damage and posture damage. Funny enough, I didn't know about the mirror key counter while fighting him, since I missed out the tutorial for it, so I would just be either trying to parry it or dodge it, but once my friend told me about it, it made the boss a lot more easier, but still challenging. In short, I recommend actually reading the skills and the tutorials. Guardian Ape is an annoying boss. You can try parrying, but I would just recommend keeping your distance and look for opportunities to attack him. He mainly just moves around a lot and swings his fist, and throws his shit at you. His second phase is a lot easier since he uses a sword, meaning you can now parry him a lot more easier. My first try I actually got to his second phase, but then after that I was stuck on his first phase. This boss really did test my patience. Killing the Headless Ape isn't an achievement, but you have to kill him regardless to get the Guardian Ape Immortal Server achievement. This boss fight is basically the second phase of the Guardian Ape but with 2 death blows. After the first death blow, another ape that fights like the Guardian Ape will come in, but it is weaker. It is honestly not that bad as long as you just rush the second ape that comes in and then continue to 1v1 the Headless Ape. The Immortal Blade was really helpful in this fight. After you get the last death blow on the Headless Ape, you have to do an extra death blow on his dead body to kill the centipede inside with the Immortal Blade. I actually did this on my second playthrough because I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Folding Screen Monkeys isn't really a boss, it's more of a find each of the 4 monkeys' weaknesses then exploit it to kill them. It takes time, but it's a very low chance you would actually die in this boss fight. The owl was hard at first, but after a couple attempts I figured the trick to beating him. It is simple as swing once, then parry, and then keep that pattern as long as he doesn't try to get away. But of course, I make it sound easy, but it still took up time to understand his moves. Especially that even though he doesn't have a big change in his second phase, it did still bring new elements into fight like his own firecrackers and poison. For people who struggled to fight the owl, you must have loved it when you found out you have to fight him again, but he's harder now. This time you have to fight the owl in a different version of the Hirota state. This time, he has new moves and a new second phase where he has an owl flying around and he can essentially teleport or appear from where the owl is. At first it seemed scary, but it wasn't that bad if you mastered the first fight with him. This fight isn't honestly that bad, at least that's how it was for me. Corrupted Monk was an overwhelming boss when I first fought him, so I resorted to the cheese and made quick work of him. Ironically, I found Corrupted Monk harder than True Monk, but that may be because by the time I got to the True Monk I was a lot better in the game. I did use the shrine to actually try out the Corrupted Monk and beat it. The True Monk is an achievement, but you have to go past him either way to get any other ending than the Shura ending. Divine Dragon is an easy boss, but he's basically a gimmick boss since you don't really fight him and more so just utilize the lightning to damage him. Both of his phases are the matter of just knowing what to do to inflict a lot of damage, which the game makes really obvious. Aishin Ashina is a boss with two phases, but you actually have to fight another boss before him with no checkpoint between. Emma isn't really that hard, but it's a nuisance to have to fight her over again. Ishin is obviously the real challenge. His move is not like Genshiro's or the owl. It felt a lot more intimidating since sometimes he would literally just stare at you. I struggled with him for like 2 days, but it was nice knowing that I only have to fight him in this form for one ending. Before I fought Demon of Hatred, I wanted to see what I was up against, so I came across a video that showed me how to beat him, and it was basically a cheese to make him fall off the map. So yes, the first time I beat him, I made him fall off the map. To be honest, I didn't think it was going to work because surely it would have patched it. But they didn't. It's okay though because I did try fighting him normally, and yes, he is a hard boss. I did a couple of attempts and I only reached his second phase, but maybe one day I will actually beat him legitimately. Now the next two bosses aren't really a boss fight, it's more going our way to kill them. These bosses are the Grey Serpent and the Grey Colored Carp. You do have to kill the Grey Serpent for another ending, but these two are really simple to kill. It's more of a figure out how to get to them and then how to kill them. Saint Sword Aishin is the perfect final boss for this game. Don't get me wrong, he beat the hell out of me, but I enjoyed every bit of it. Of course, before fighting him, you have to fight Genshiro again, but honestly, it's easier than fighting him at the castle, because the only new thing he has is the Immortal Blade, which is pretty easy to dodge, and he has no more lightning attacks. First phase of Aishin isn't anything too crazy, but the second phase is where his boss fight gets hard. He uses a spear along with a sword, which pushes you to understand the timing of his attacks. His third phase is more of the same concept now, since he uses lightning attacks, which actually made this fight a lot more easier, because reflecting lightning allows a lot of damage output, and not to mention it momentarily paralyzes him. You will have to fight him a total of 3 times for the other endings, though once you beat him once, he becomes progressively easier as you do the other endings. And now the last achievement for this category is Man Without Equal. This achievement is beating every single one of the bosses other than the carp and the snake. Luckily, this achievement does not include any of the mini bosses or bosses that don't count as a memory. The achievement will require 2 playthroughs since the Shura ending has a separate final boss from the other endings. Overall, getting through the bosses is hard. They all have their own unique way of fighting and require you to constantly change your playstyle. There are a few types of collectibles in this game, but one of the collectibles does require fighting a good amount of mini bosses that can be rather annoying, especially when they are placed in various situations. Peak physical strength is upgrading your HP and posture to the max, which is collecting all 40 prayer beads in the game. The beads are either hidden in the world in a chest or a mini boss, which sometimes can be annoying and feel as bad as a regular boss. Ultimate Healing Gourd is fully upgrading the Healing Gourd to max, which is collecting all Gourd seeds. Now I actually came across a good amount of these on my own. I missed like 2 in total, which I had to look up their locations, but finding most of these aren't too bad. Next is all prosthetic tools, which finding and buying all the prosthetic tools. This does not include the upgrades but the base forms of every tool, but you still may have to get all the upgrades to get the achievement Master of the Prosthetic. It sounded easy to me at first, but it does take a good amount of grinding for materials. You do have to search for special parts from mini bosses or the world to be able to get some of the upgrades. It also requires getting a good amount of lapis lazuli, which require more than 1 playthrough. Speaking of grinding, the height of technique requires getting every skill in the game. I thought by the end of the 4th playthrough I would have all of them, but I was really incorrect. There was a lot of grinding in this achievement, can be tedious, but if you don't mind grinding, then you will love it, unlike me. The Shura ending is the first ending I've done and also the shortest ending you can do. It's as simple as just obey the owl and defeat Emma and Aishin, which Aishin gave me a lot of trouble for a while. Immortal Server's ending is the ending you get for simply beating the game normally and not doing any additional quests. This is the last ending I did, so it was easy to get through it as at this point I was experienced enough to get through without much struggle. The Purification ending is the ending where you do have to fight the owl again, but now is using his true power. Beforehand, it is just dialogue and eavesdropping to get to this point, but other than that, once you beat the owl again, you just go through the game as normal, except now you have another option at the end of the game. I thought I locked myself out of this ending when I was first trying to get it because I thought I messed up with eavesdropping, but all I did was reset the game and it was okay. The return ending requires the most steps, but it's not difficult. Basically, you just have to kill the snake and collect another item in a cave, and then beat the game as normal and choose a different choice at the end. You most likely can just create backup saves and do the endings in one playthrough, but I think that the game is better when you do New Game Plus. So you can see the slight differences and have more playtime within the game, because although difficult, the game is really fun. The main challenge of getting all achievements is the bosses, but the game also requires grinding and fighting other mini-bosses that can prove to be a problem. This game starts off extremely difficult within the first 2 playthroughs as you have to really take the effort and time to get better. Getting all the achievements in Sekiro is fun, but it's challenging and can feel like a chore when it comes to grinding. I give the difficulty a rating of 4.5. Sekiro is based on how well you improve in fighting bosses and playing the game. Sure, there are tools and other items you can use to assist you, but it all comes down to how you play and your skill. This is the end of the video, which I hope you all enjoyed. Maybe one day I'll beat the Demon of Hatred the proper way. Until then, like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you enjoy my content, and comment your thoughts on Sekiro or anything about the video. Thank you for watching the video.